Let's talk about arrays and objects. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So if I present you a problem, no, sorry, let me keep it even easier. So if I type Declan equal Bella, what will that return? True or false? False, because we've got two strings that are clearly different, yeah? Fair enough. And what if I do Declan equal Declan?
True.
True, correct, yeah? And what if we play with booleans? True equal false? Correct. And false equal false? True. Fantastic. Let's talk about numbers. 8 equal 7.
False.
And 8 equal 8?
True.
Easy, right? But let's make it a bit more complicated. What if I got an array, something like that, true or false?
True. It's at the same time.
I don't know.
Oh.
It's a classic job interview question.
Is it checking the array or checking the numbers? Oh, no, it's,
Honestly, it's false. Because 8 doesn't equal
I mean, the numbers are different, right?
9. Yeah.
8 is not 9, so. But now, obviously, the next question, as you can imagine, that's the tricky question, the $1 billion question. So, what will that return? True or false?
True. Because they're both false.
From a human point of view, they look the same, yeah? They're exactly the same. However, every time you create an array, you see, every time you open a square bracket, this is adding a new variable in your memory. In other words, I got 2 addresses in memory, 2 postal codes. Yeah? Postal codes, W3, whatever, yeah? 2 postal codes. Even though they look the same, they are not the same. Does it make sense? That's an important principle about how JavaScript works. And what if we talk about objects? So we got name Peter equal name Lucy. True or false? True.
False.
Why true?
Both objects that have an
Yeah, but okay, the key is the same, fantastic. But what about the value? So that clearly is not okay. That won't return true. That will return false. And what if we actually let me create a variable? Sometimes DevTools doesn't like this way of comparing values. Don't ask me why. So let me create a value x. Let's compare. Let's create a variable x. Let's create a variable y. Yeah. So now that will return false for sure. But what if both guys are called Peter? True or false?
It's still false. Because you've got different variables.
Correct, Bella. Still false. That's the same principle. Yeah. So in that particular use case scenario, arrays and objects have the same sort of strategy. Yeah, in terms of comparison. So every time you open curly brace to create an object, it's a new address in memory. So we've got 2 different addresses in memory, so they are always different. So now you may be asking yourself, okay, fair enough. So we know that an array with number 4 and another array of number 4, they are not the same. But do you agree with me that in some cases we really want to compare them? What? Because from a human point of view, you agree it's the same, yeah? X and Y are the same. So how can we solve the problem? I want to create a function. Look, function are the same. And it will receive 2 variables, A and B. So then, when I call are the same with 4, 5, and 2, that should return false for sure. But if I'm calling the function passing 5 and 5, that should return true. All right. Well, tell me, Bella.
I was just wondering, could you, in the function, just negate the truth?
Okay, so you want to negate what? You tell me.
Oh gosh. Do you use like symbols in this?
Say it again.
Symbols.
Symbols.
I started learning about them in the platform.
No, don't do that.
Okay, so you could do return,
Return.
and then I guess like, yeah, maybe like the exclamation mark.
Exclamation mark. And then what?
Yeah,
Magaluf.
no, I want to say exclamation mark A equals B.
Exclamation A
But
equals
that's probably the wrong syntax.
like that.
I think you
Triple equals.
you put exclamation mark in the thing next to the array for the array brackets. So it doesn't read return.
How's that, Declan?
Do you put the exclamation mark
Yes.
in before the array brackets?
Before the array brackets. We're here.
Yeah, and then
Oh, good. You are negating an array, which is something mind blowing.
yeah, mine.
The boolean with the letter I that will return true. Like
If what?
like you can do the
All right, time out, guys. You're not going to solve it, yeah? I can give you the feeling that eventually you'll find the answer, but unfortunately, I don't think you're going to find the answer. But I'll tell you something good. I like the way you participate. To me, I find very weird when I'm interviewing a candidate. Do you know that? Silence, inconvenient silence, very long silence. If you try, at least it proves that you have an attitude. You are motivated, yeah? Even if you are massively wrong, like this case. But at least you are trying. So that's fantastic. So I would like to show you 2 ways of solving the problem. A very dirty one and a very sexy one. And then, even though the first one is going to be very dirty, if I get that question in a job interview, I will mention it. Because that will prove that sometimes, if necessary, you don't have any problems of getting very dirty. Yeah? And we'll see in a minute why this is not convenient. So there is a trick in JavaScript. There is a way to transform an array into a string.
so the curly
String oh, is it dot notation?
with
No, you are wrong. It's none of that. There is a method in JavaScript. Look, you see at the bottom? I'm typing at the bottom now. The method is called JSON.stringify. So if I pass an array with number 5, you see? It returns a string. It's literally the string with the square brackets and everything. Why I'm doing that? Because with JavaScript, as we've seen 4 minutes ago, it's very easy to compare primitives like strings, hello, Peter. We can compare them. Numbers, 4 and 5. And booleans, false and true. It's very easy. The problem is with array and objects. But if we transform the complex array into a string, can we do that? You get my point? So now, if you look at the bottom, essentially what I'm comparing is 5 equal something like that. 2 strings, hello world, 2 strings, yeah? So if my theory is correct, it works. And that means that now if I pass something different, like number 1, so from a human point of view, are the arrays the same? No, clearly not, yeah? If in one bank account you got 1 million and the other bank account you got 5 million, it's not the same, yeah? It's false. So that's, to me, probably the easiest way to compare arrays. The same thing applies to objects. If I do JSON.stringify, look, if I pass name Peter, you see? I'm getting the string version, literal version of the object. So, let's try that. Is name Peter equal to name Mary?
No, because they're different strings.
Correct, Bella. They are different strings. False. What if I change Peter, Mary to Peter?
Same strings. That'd be true.
Correct. By the first time ever, we managed to compare two strings. And what if I do that? What if I transform from capital P to lower P? Why false? Why different? JavaScript is case sensitive. That's correct, guys. So that they're very close, but not exactly. Yeah, not exactly. Cool. Remember, being the same or not is like being pregnant. Either you are pregnant or you are not pregnant. You cannot be half pregnant. There are two states.
You can have phantom pregnancy. Oh.
Yeah, whatever.
If you sorry, I've got a question. If you change the number of equal signs, would that then compare just the type? So
How many you want?
So if you have 3 equal signs, does it check the value and the type? But if you have 2 equal signs, it just checks the value.
That's a good question.
Is that right?
That's a good question.
Oh, just
And I'm not going to give you the answer. But I'm going to like to show you something completely off topic. Just came to my mind. So do you know who Douglas Crackford is, guys?
oh, he did do the JavaScript book.
Actually, it's good. You see that?
Oh wait, did he? Oh yeah, JavaScript, the good parts, right?
Good part. That's correct. Fantastic. He's considered one of the fathers of JavaScript. Yeah? He wrote the most important book ever about JavaScript, called
Oh, he
JavaScript.
went to JSON.
The good. Oh, how do you know that? That's good. You're right. Yeah. He's the father of JSON format. Before him, in JavaScript, we were using something called XML. You may have heard about that. But he convinced everybody that JSON was much sexier than, and he was right. So there is a joke on the internet: JavaScript versus the good parts. If you search that, that's a very old joke. Meaning that the good parts is just a small subset of JavaScript, yeah? But ignoring that joke, I can tell you something. I attended a conference of this man in 2011 in Madrid, and after his talk, he fell asleep, so he didn't care about anything else. You know, he's a character, but he's an important person, yeah?
He wears some really jazzy t-shirts.
Say again?
He wears really jazzy t-shirts.
Yes, that's correct. Very fun t-shirt. Yeah. Cool. I mean, personally, I couldn't recommend anybody reading that book again anymore because no, don't read it. He's actually not recommending it anymore because it's a very old book. It's very good to understand the fundamentals, but many of the limitations he talked about, they are obsolete because JavaScript has evolved and now there are much better ways of solving the same issues. Yeah. Anyway, if you're curious about the fundamentals, the roots of coding, it's obviously something like the Bible of JavaScript. Yeah? So in that book, one of the things he said is that double equals are evil. Never use it. Never use it. Yeah?
Is it because like they are not strict enough?
That's correct. That's correct, Declan. Double equals is not strict enough. Awesome. I just closed everything. All right, I need to bring the algorithm back, guys, because I just deleted it by accident, right? So, no, it was JSON.stringify A equal. The same thing with B. I think we were doing something like that, right? And now we got R, this equal. and then we got hello Peter versus hello, it was something like that. Yeah. So, so with double equals, I'm not going to give you the long answer. You can go to Google, to Stack Overflow to find all the literacy. But long story short, never use double equals. Because if you use double equals, you are checking the equality. Yeah? You got that expression for free today. Equality of the expressions. If you check triple equals, you are evaluating the identity instead of the equality. And the identity of two expressions is stricter because it's about checking the type. You know, it's just stricter. So it's a more solid way of comparing two elements. So, even though that works, let me present you the first issue dealing. I told you that JSON.stringify is very dirty. It's very dirty. Yeah. So JSON.stringify is like drinking tequila shots after Jaeger bomb. It's something, you know, short term may sound okay, but long term, it's never okay. Okay? So let me present you the first problem. Look, let me change the keys a bit, just for readability purposes. I got two objects, one on each line, yeah? And that's not obvious to everybody. That's why I think it's important to understand that. So I got two database with two users, name Peter, age 21, and age 21. So Peter is lucky enough to be 21 years old, yeah? So what do you think our algorithm will return, true or false? True. That's correct. They are all the same string. So if we evaluate it, true. If we change any of these details, like for instance, we got two Peters, one at 21 and then one at 31, yeah, a bit more mature, that will return false because, you know, they are different. However, now the tricky question is, that returns true, but from a human point of view, what if I do that? Ignore the technicalities. If you present that piece of code to your mom, are these two lines the same? Exactly. Is the information, if you get a database of users, are we holding the same information about the user? So in theory, they're the same. But you know what? No. Why? Because JavaScript is taking that as a string literally. And then I hope you agree with me that as strings, they don't match. They're not the same. This is the first use case scenario where JSON.stringify starts sinking, like the Titanic, yeah? Starts sinking. You may be thinking, wait a minute, but in reality that's correct because the order of the properties is different, so the objects are different. That's not true. That's not true. When you have an array, if I present you an array, guys, like let results, and I display Peter and then Lucy, results, something like that, does the order matter here? Is the order relevant? If I tell you, give me the first element of the array, it is relevant. Correct. So when talking about arrays, the order is relevant. That's the entire point about arrays. What are the results? First Peter, then Lucy. If we change these elements, then we are changing the results. Now it's first Lucy and then Peter. So when talking about arrays, the order matters. The order is relevant, really relevant. However, when talking about objects, that's not true. When talking about objects, the JavaScript standard doesn't specify any order. So it doesn't really matter which property you place first. With JavaScript objects, you just get a collection of key value pairs, unsorted collection, that's it. Yeah? So in other words, to me and to JavaScript, these two objects should be considered the same. However, our dirty algorithm is telling us they are not the same. So that's the first limitation of JSON.stringify. As soon as you play around with the positioning of the object properties, it stops working. The second limitation is that operation of stringifying an object or stringifying an array is very expensive. Yeah? From a computing point of view, yeah, it's exhausting. That means that, I mean, fair enough, I'm just dealing with very basic data. But imagine that you have to compare a big array with 1 million results. Yeah, you are Facebook and you got 2 dumps of the database of 1.3 billion customers and you want to compare if they are the same. You cannot do that. Yeah? That would blow up the entire Milky Way. So, you know, that's another limitation. JSON that stringify is not very optimal. All right, so once we've seen our first approach to how to compare objects and arrays, let's talk about a good one. So how can we improve? How can we bring something more consistent? Well, let me present you something different. So back to the array example, because I think arrays are a bit easier to learn. So I got 2 arrays. These are completely different, right? So, can I iterate over the first array and then for each element compare if it's the same as on the second one?
Yes, using the
For of, even easier than that. Map or for each. Let me present you my approach. I'm going to create a variable. Same equals true. Eventually, I'll return it. I'm assuming that by default, yes, A and B are the same. So now look, I'm going to do A dot for each, and I got a number. So now, can you tell me in this particular use case, what's the first number?
No, 5 with 0.
5 that is correct because on the for each will go through all the elements. So number is 5. So essentially, I want to, how to say that? I want to find if the numbers are different. So if number is not the same as, and now the problem, how do I access that element?
Do you put
Array
array 1?
1. No.
1, 2?
Number
Number 1?
1? Like that?
Red number and
Red number? What do you mean red?
red number.
Number?
I mean, yeah, just write the one inside.
Square brackets?
Yeah.
Could you do number plus 1 in the square notation? So you're kind of moving on to the next. No, so you have number and square notation number plus 1. Would that work? Is that turning it to move on to the next in the array? If number is not equal
You start the calculation.
That's
Start the
still start at,
acceleration.
no, that wouldn't work.
still start at 0 and still go back to the first one.
Because
It starts from 0 anyway.
So here, you're doing something mind-blowing. Do you know any GIF about mind-blowing stuff?
Oh, that kind of.
Yeah, that one.
I think it's the two there actually.
Yeah, that one.
Ah, I clicked somewhere. No.
I love
That's what you are proposing today. Yeah?
That's not universal.
That doesn't make sense, guys.
By what are you doing wrong?
That's.
Okay,
Oof.
let's think about
I'm not even going to explain why this doesn't make sense, but that's mind-blowing. Yeah?
If the number is not
Guys, wait a minute. Number refers to each element on the first array. And I want to compare, if this is index 0, because it's the first one, I want to compare against index 0 on the second array. So we need to do something with B.
You got B.
Oh, B.
B what?
Notation 0.
B what?
B square notation 0.
Like that?
If B is not, yeah, because that's the first.
Okay, hey, let's iterate. Let's keep it. Yeah, all right. So if that happens, what do I do? I don't want to return anything. I have a flag. I have a boolean. By default, I'm assuming they are the same.
Would return the same.
I don't want to return anything, guys. I'm returning something at the end. I just want to change the value to what?
Up to 5. You want to make up to something that's similar to the first name.
Guys, let's start from the beginning. Hello, my name is Ricardo. You get a boolean. I will return the boolean. Same will tell the user if A and B are the same. I don't really know what's going on here. What I know is A. By default, I'm going to be polite. I'm going to be gentle. So they are the same. If something wrong happens, I may change the value of same to what?
Different.
What you said? Say it again?
Different.
To false, of course.
False.
The idea is go through all the elements. If at some point any of the numbers don't match, they are not the same. Will that work? Yes or no? What will that algorithm return? True or false?
I don't think it would return. Yeah.
You don't think that will return anything. That's an interesting theory. Why?
Because I feel like there's an error in there, so that might be like a.
Okay, so listen, that's fine. That's a valid scenario. So you think there is an error? Where there is the error?
I feel like in the if statement.
In the if statement. So there is an error here. Why?
In the if statement, so the exclamation and equal is a not equal value or not equal type.
Mm-hmm.
So we just put 5 next to because we need to compare the number to 5.
Number to 5. Yes. So you want me to put a 5 here?
And no, it's something like it.
So Bella, you said that will throw an error. Okay, I'm not against that theory. Well, I'm against that theory. But even if I'm not very opinionated, you have to convince me. Why? Okay, you said in the if statement. Fantastic. Why? So let's do some sort of logical debugging. On line number, look, I'm trying to add some breakpoints. Line number 4, line number 5, and line number 9. So let me run the snippet again. So what's the value on line number 4? You see, we're stopping the execution on line number 4. What's the value of the variable called same?
True.
True, correct? Yeah, because by default, yeah, they are the same. All right, so let's run it again. Now we're on line number 5. What's the value of the variable number?
It's 5.
It's 5, correct? Because we are looping over the first array. It's 5. Now, look, B is an array. Yeah, makes sense. Here you're saying, hey, please give me the value on index 0 of the array. So what's the value associated to B of index 0? 8. That's correct.
B is the same.
B is the second, Vicky.
Okay,
Yeah? So is 5 different to 8?
Yes, they're different.
Generally speaking, 5 and 8 are not the same since the ancient Greeks, 2000 years ago. I got 5 millions, I got 8 millions, it's not the same. How you agree on that? Because they are not the same, the consequence, the immediate consequence is we set the value to false.
So it will return false.
Because there is a single element on each array, same is false. And that means the algorithm returns false. Which is good, because that's what we wanted. Yeah? But before you open a bottle of champagne, let's try to break it. Yeah? I love to break code. So, for instance, what if we do that? 8 and 8. What should, ignore the details, What should, from a human point of view, the function return? True or false? True, because 2 arrays, same number, that's return true. Will it work?
Because you negating out the false.
Yeah, so what's the first number? 8, correct, it's 8. What's B on index 0? 8. Is 8 different to 8? No. Will that line number 6 will ever run?
No.
No. So we will simply return what?
True.
True, correct. Look. Fantastic. So A is working quite well. However, hold on. We can, I believe, still break it. How can we break it? In many different ways. For instance,
More values.
So, from a human point of view, what should that function return? False, because we got 2 arrays, one with 1 number, the other one with 2 numbers. They are not the same, from a human point of view. Will the algorithm work? Will the algorithm return false?
No, because I think once it goes over the second value of A, it won't have anything to compare to it.
I don't know.
So then, I don't know, undefined?
So Declan thinks that will return true. Why, Declan?
Because it takes the last value
It takes the last value
from any array. From the first array.
on the first iteration. What will be the value of number? 8, correct? And we will compare 8 to what do we got on the first iteration on B? 8 versus 8. Is 8 different to 8? No, the same. So, for now, good. On the first iteration, happy times. However, because we're using for each, we'll loop again. And on the second iteration, what's the value of number? 8. Correct. And what do we have on the right-hand side?
Oh, that's still 8.
Why still 8?
Because it's static. It's still always.
Correct, Bella. It's statically referring to the first position. So it's on the left-hand side, that's good because it's going left to right, but on the right-hand side, it's only checking the first value. So, is 8 different to 8 again? No. So that line will never ever run. The value will remain truthy forever. So if I run it,
But then,
That's good.
But that's not what humans do.
yeah, of course. You're right. I wanted to break the algorithm, and I succeed breaking the algorithm. Yeah, that means we need to fix it. Yeah, because that doesn't work. This use case scenario should clearly return false. And the problem, as some of you are smelling, is here. we're statically comparing against the first element on the second array, but that's not true. I want to compare the first on the left versus the first on the right. The second on the left versus the second on the right, if any.
So you need to put B for each.
No, easier than that. Easier than that. Easier than that. I'll show you a hint. When you use for each or map or the majority of this or filter, this sort of looping methods in JavaScript, look.
Oh, is there a second?
Yes. The second argument tells you the index. So the first time we go through this loop, index will be what?
It'll be 0.
Correct. And the second time? Correct. And so on. So then you tell me, what else do you need to change?
B square bracket index.
That's correct, Bella. So now we compare first versus first, second versus second, third versus third. So we agreed that should return false. And what do you think? Will it work now? On the first iteration, easy peasy. Number 8 versus B on index 0, 8, 8 are the same, still okay. But what happened on iteration number 2? What's the value of number on the second iteration?
It won't have a
Second?
value. It won't have a value.
Wrong?
No, sorry, 8, but then the B index won't have any value.
Exactly. What's the index on the second iteration?
It would be 1. but
Correct.
there's no
There is nothing. There is nothing on index 1. So what will it return?
error.
No, not error, Bella. Why you like error so much?
Errors is a catch-all term.
What happens in JavaScript when something doesn't exist? Undefined, correct, Vicky. So is 8 different to undefined?
Yes.
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 So then we are telling, hey, these are not the same. In other words, it works. What happened if I give on the second element number 6, for instance? What should that return? False. Will it work? Yes. And what happened if I put 8? Should return true. They are clearly the same. Is that algorithm perfect? Is that the sexiest piece of code you've ever seen?
Could you?
Yes.
Yes. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Is-
It's really
All right, then let me present you a problem. So, if I provide, for instance, let's keep it simple, yes? 1 versus 1, true or good. So, if I do that, that should return false. And we've seen before that returns false, yeah? Easy. And then, what should that algorithm return? Ignore the implementation details from a human point of view. Is an array of 8 the same as an array of 8 and 5? No. So that's return false, yeah? Easy. Will it work? Will it return false?
Undefined,
So it would be undefined equals 5. Yeah. So I'd say false.
So you think that will work? It will return false.
It would be true.
It will be true, that means it won't work.
It would will it stop iterating?
According to our human criteria, that should return false. Broken. Yeah? Fatality. You know what a fatality is? Do you remember Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
Fatality. So, you know, your head got off your body. So that didn't work. Sorry, this is supposed to be for all the audiences. Hello, YouTube. Parental control. All right, cool. So that doesn't work. But can anybody tell me why this doesn't work?
Because it stops on the first.
That's correct. According to this algorithm, Vicky, that will run as many times as elements the first array has. Because on the first array we got one number, we compare one first versus first. The condition is satisfied because 8 equals 8, and then done. Now, so let me show you a trick. What I would like to do is something a bit rudimentary but efficient. First of all, I want to compare the size of both arrays. Because if they got different size, that's it. There is no point, not even going through all the elements individually. If they got different size, they are not the same. So, how can we do that? So I will do something like that. If what? How do we compare the size of A versus the size of B?
It's not length.
Does dot size relate to arrays and dot length relates to?
So you tell me the syntax.
If a dot size equals
How many equals? 7?
3 b dot size. So if they're the same, we should negate that.
So
So if they're not the same,
That?
same equals false. So they're the same. Yeah.
cool. Will that work?
No,
Is
you're
it
right
not
about
right?
that.
That's not about, I don't know if it exists
Then,
because
because you said that. Comparing them out.
Declan is right.
No, she said it right.
No, I said dot size.
You said length.
No, she said size. This is recorded, guys. Go to YouTube.
I think that length.
She said size. Other question is it size or length?
Length
Is
is
that-
the-
It is length. That's correct. That's correct. Yeah? Something like that. Something like that. Actually, can we be a bit more aggressive? Can we do? I mean, if the size are not the same, look. Out. Return. Don't even check anything else. There's no point of looping. Out. So now, if everything is okay, the algorithm should return what? True or false?
It's false. Because they're not the same size.
That's correct, Bella. Now they return false because the size is not the same. Will that code? Will that ever run?
No.
No.
it's absent.
Which is cool.
Return breaks.
So now this algorithm is not perfect. It's not perfect yet. If I stretch it a bit, I will smash it. But I think it's strong enough. Yeah, it's strong enough. So regardless of what you do, for instance, 8 and 5, true. 8, 5 and 1, false. 8, 5 and 1,
True.
true. 8, 5 and 2,
False.
looking good, eh? Looking quite good. And now, my final question is, does it any matter if I move that condition of checking the size?
Yeah.
Yes.
It would be.
Will that make any difference?
Yeah.
Why?
We'd run into the same problem that we had right at the beginning where we just finish the iteration. Yeah. One search.
Okay, so can you tell me a use case scenario where the algorithm won't work as expected?
8 and then
8?
8 and 5.
Okay, so what should that return? That should return false, clearly. Yeah? But you think that will return true? Wrong. Still working. You are right, Bella. That bit won't be able to capture, to spot the problem. According to that highlighted bit of code, true. Still okay. However, before we give up, wait a minute, please check the length. Oh, they're different. No. False. So definitely, the order doesn't matter from a human point of view. However, from a performance perspective, what should we do first? Checking the length or going through all the elements?
So I guess I would take less memory.
That's correct, Bella. If we are checking an array of 1 million elements versus an array of 1,000,001 elements, if we check the size first, which is something very cheap in JavaScript, easy. However, if we loop first, it's going to be much slower. So please first check size, and then if the size are the same, then fantastic, then go through all the details. Yeah, makes sense? Any questions? No? We are out of time, and that means I'm not going to tell you how to solve the same problem with objects. But the strategy is very, very similar. So you got some homework, guys. I will give you a hint. Does anybody know if I got an object called user name Peter? So does anybody know how can I get all the keys, so name Peter and age 21? How can I get
Key.keys.
keys correct? Object.keys user will return what?
Return the age. Yeah. Yeah.
What is that? A string?
No, be an array.
Correct. So that's sometimes I know I feel a bit pedantic, but the point is, if you go to your interview, you need to be precise with your wording. Yeah? I know that you know what that returns, but I would love you to be more precise. That will return an array with 2 strings. On the first string, we'll have the name. On the second string, we'll have the age. Yeah? Beautiful, elegant. Yeah? Correct. So once you got that, because that's an array, hopefully you can smell what you can do for each, and then something. I'm not going to give you the answer. I want you to practice a bit. Yeah. And if you give up, we recorded the solution on the recent workshop. We did the workshop on the morning session. So if you give up, let me know, and I'll send you the link to the morning. But I want you to struggle, yeah, to fight again a bit with that particular problem. Anything else, guys? No? Cool, thank you.